Good morning, good afternoon, and happy Monday. Today was an interesting way to start the week. Really, only two movers today out there on BDSX and on EVTV. And we're going to break it all down exactly what happened today, what went through my mind today, and sort of how I ended up trading today. And I'm actually pretty happy with how I ended up trading today. It was a pretty dang good day. We're going to break it all down and what made some of these setups good, what made some of them bad. What would I do differently going into tomorrow? And we're going to break down every single entry one by one. Like I said, for starters today, there really wasn't a whole lot moving this morning. Of course, EVTV was the leading gapper. It was up 150% this morning in pre-market, and so I was watching it. But there was a few problems with it, and the reason why I say there was a few problems with this, it ended up making a pretty nice move today. Mind you, it made a move all the way to about $1.80. Gosh, out of market open, this thing was so choppy. Even back in pre-market this morning, it made some pretty nice moves, but price action was not great. Now, if you remember last week, I traded this last Tuesday, and I actually crushed this thing. I knocked it out of the park, and I was just so happy with execution. It was one of my biggest trades. Actually, my biggest day of the week last week was thanks to EVTV. I just cannot say the same about today. I didn't like how it was trading. The structure of the move was just entirely different. It was just an entirely different move. It just wasn't, not even in the same ballpark. And so over here on this today, we had a few issues. Now, going into market open today, what I knew is we had this sort of 137, 138 area here off the highs, off this past daily high. And with that too, we knew we look back at the daily chart, we have this sort of $1 level sitting here up 97 cents. And so going into the bell, I'm watching this. And so what I see here based off those levels is I want to watch first and foremost for pullbacks off that $1 level. And as I'm going in the market open today, that's exactly how I was watching it, off 97 cents off of VWAP for the range back to 127 to 140. And it ended up making that move today. And it was over VWAP, but I missed the plays. And the reason why I sort of lacked conviction is because this thing held off that 50 EMA all morning. And so this comes in the market open and just it tries to break out, and this is where things get a little bit squirrely for me. If this did not happen, I probably would have still liked it today. But you see what happens is this comes into the bell, gaps up over the previous high from pre-market, and a sturdy rejection off the high. So it rejects off the high, begins to chop sideways, then sells off back to VWAP. Then gaps back up and reclaims the 50 EMA, chops sideways, then gaps back down, puts in place a bit of a higher low double bottom. And so at that point, I'm watching it here and I'm looking, do I want to take a pullback? And I don't take a pullback through this range here on the reclaim because what happens is I know we have sold off once, twice, so why am I going to take it here? And on one side, you can say, well, if you can take it high off the 50 EMA, maybe you have a chance to squeeze those shorts that came in off these highs. That's exactly what this ended up doing. Now, I still did play this today. Now, of course, like I said, I didn't play it through here because I wasn't a massive fan of this double top off the high, so I didn't play it here. Now, of course, like I said, there's two ways to look at that. Either lack of range, or you can also view it from the side of maybe you could squeeze shorts. And it did, right? It did. And so, in any case, it gets breaking over the highs. Finally, we also, of course, had noted here that we had this 137 level so key, then we had range to 180, so they would actually play this. So what happens here is, again, we have that 138 level here marked up. I'm watching for a break over that level. Of course, the 9 EMA has been respected pretty much all morning now that it has reclaimed that 50 EMA. It's just been hugging off the 9 all morning. And so this gets setting up here a little bit for me, and I was able to do a little bit of something here. I don't have much conviction on this based on the fact that I wasn't able to trade it at all back early this morning, sort of playing it late in the morning. 10:20 going on 10:30, trying to play up my first trade on this for the day. Yeah, it's not ideal. So anyways, breaks over the high of day. I try to take it real quick for the extension to 180 because we had that clear daily level breakout over this 137. So you can see I took a little bit here. Then I'm watching for pullbacks to get some actual ads on this because I don't take a whole lot of size in the first entry. I got in with about a quarter size. If you were on stream this morning, you took a quarter size and added back on a pullback. So price pulls back off the 90 EMA. I'm able to get an ad back there off the pullback for that curl back up into the previous high of day. And thankfully I got that. So got an ad on the pullback. Took my ads out as price began to curl back to the upside. And then as we got a break of this previous high, again, per my exit strategy, unfortunately, as you can see what happens here is this high of day put in place right here, sitting off of this 149 level. It breaks over 149, and what's it do? It puts in place this nice old wick off the high, signaling an instant exit as price grabbed liquidity, which typically invalidates the setup and is next for a reversal, right? And so that reversal did not really take place here. It actually held off the 90 EMA and actually curled back to new highs. Of course, I didn't play this because it stuck to my, again, strategy here and just left it alone. So be it. And I could have came back here and tried to take it off some pullbacks here off the previous high again and got me back up to new highs. But at this point of the morning, the fact that I couldn't really trade this, you also have to consider, you also have the 200 moving average that was sitting right here. So it's like, do we have enough range to make this worthwhile? Because the fact of the matter is I wasn't able to play it at all through here. And so I'm already sort of playing it late in the morning as it is, playing it up in the top of its range. Like I said, it's not ideal. And so the main one today was actually BDSX. And so BDSX was that other stock this morning where I came into market open, and here's where I had some issues. And it's this mental battlefield left and right where you got the angel on one shoulder, the demon on the other. And it's just like, geez, man. And so look at this from this morning. And so I'm watching this. Going in the market open, this thing was already up substantially this morning in pre-market, as you can see by the gap on the daily chart, from 550 into Friday's close, about $7 this morning into market open. And so the problem was that is going in the market open, you're sitting here trading around the $7 price range over that 20 moving average, which is fine if you have ranges. So the issue is this morning with this is where I'm having this sort of crossroads mentally is we have the 200 moving average sitting at 776. We have the 50 moving average sitting here at about 730, and then again we have the 20 sitting down here at about 680. And so in knowing that, this was my crossroads here, is knowing that we had that 770s level here. Take a look at this. And now again, it was respected quite well, and I'm pretty happy with how I was able to end up trading this, but here's my problem. Look back at pre-market at what happened this morning. And so we look back here, and you get a much better idea of what happened here today. So early in pre-market this morning, around 6 a.m., this gaps up from the lows this morning, like I said, back there around the 550s from Friday's close, all the way to about $8.30 this morning, which we also know we have that 770s level sitting there as the 200 moving average. Well, it tries to break over the 200 after rejecting twice, breaks above and then rejects 2 times here, and just gives back pretty much the entirety of the move. And so at this point, I know that over the 200 price just did not want to move higher in the slightest. And so unfortunately, I guess this doesn't have range here. Price doesn't like it over the 200. This doesn't want to move any higher. And so I wasn't watching this into the open. As you can see, I only watch this here with EVTV, OM, and CGTL. And this wasn't on the list for that exact reason. Going out of market open, the problem was, though, this was what was moving. This is where the volume was. And so at that point, it's like, do you have an open mind? Do you try and play it anyways? You know, what's the game plan here? And so I'm not really happy with how I traded this the first 2 entries. And honestly, I was positioned pretty poorly on the first 2 entries here, just to be completely transparent. The first entry here, I tried to take here off the pullback to look if we can get that continuation higher on the break of this 770s high. So I take a pullback entry here with a stop loss down here off the bottom of this last candle off of VWAP. So again, I'm in here pretty wide. You're talking a 751 entry, risking off of 717, 718. This knife's down to retest VWAP, thankfully, gets bought back up and flips back to the highs. At this point, it's such a small win because I'm in here with 50 cents a share of risk in terms of size. And I only really get a move here about, 30 cents a share into profit. So I've got 30 cents of risk, 30 cents of profit. It's not great. I also took some out here over entry because I just wasn't a big fan of where I was positioned on this. And so overall, just not a nice play to start. And so then I think out of frustration, I come back here and I'm trying to play it for the curl back up higher because it's putting in place this ascending channel. And so I try to take it off the pullbacks here for this higher low continuation. And mind you, this was a pretty good looking setup, but maybe I didn't wait for it to pull back quite enough because we just rejected off the daily high again. So maybe. And so this is my last real loss before we really get things cooking here. So I have a very small win here. I got a loss here, and then things start to get a little bit better. And so what I know here is if we look back at this from these swing lows, is this puts in place, look at this, where we have the low to low. So we have these higher lows stacked here off of VWAP. So I know that buyers like this off of VWAP, all right? And I also know we have range back up into these higher highs, right? It's sort of this megaphone pattern here that we love. And so that being said, you look at this here and was able to do quite well off the pullback. So our buyers come in here and I'm picking back up at 738. I just sort of I'm able to get a decent move here. But again, my conviction is lacking because of how I executed these first 2 trades. And the thing is, I just wasn't happy with how I traded the first 2 setups where I came in with that first trade, poorly positioned, way too high into that range, almost a 1-to-1 risk to reward in terms of the move that I got up into that pre-market high. So not super happy with that. And so the big thing with this is, again, not using that top-down priority quite as much as I should be. And again, if we look back, I'll show you here on the 5-minute time frame what this looked like at the time. And you look back at this price range here out of market open where I'm taking that pullback entry. And I want you to see, and this again will be so telling as to what happened here. Look at this. And so where I'm taking it here on that entry here, looking at 755. And you can see I'm sort of taking it here way off of VWAP, way off the 90 MA. And so I had the right idea, I had the right read, but this thing traded so wide today. It was really hard to get positioned. Just really hard to get positioned. And so in any case, I have my first win, my loss, and then I come back and take some nice wins here. Of course, I take it there, risking off of VWAP, get the price to move higher. As it reclaims the 90 MA, I add back, raise my stop loss to the bottom of this next candle. Of course, we do the same thing again. It pulls back off the 90 MA, get an add again, and raise my stop loss. And I'm trying to get that move higher. And thankfully, as we retest the previous high of day, I take a full exit. We know we have sellers sitting here off the high of day. As we enter into that range again, take a full profit, and I just sit back, wait for pullbacks. And so from here, price pulls back once more after the double top off the high, and I get a nice re-entry. And so price pulls back, and obviously we know we have these higher lows getting put in here. We have this, of course, range off the highs here put in as well. And I take it back off the pullback to the 90 MA once again for the break back up higher. And again, I get it here from 760. Of course, stop loss goes here at the bottom of these candles here in this area of consolidation. And so again, 763 entry, risking off of 750, about 12, 13 cents a share of risk, and looking for the break through the high of day. With that, I got the break at the high of day up into the 8s, and then I just didn't capitalize enough. I took off a profit because we were nearing that range from the pre-market highs. And so as this breaks those pre-market highs, you'll see back here this level that rejected earlier, which was from about 793 to 830. Well, we're probably going to grab liquidity again and sell off these highs. And so in knowing that, I took a full exit. I took a full exit off the highs. And so we get breaking higher. I'm expecting sellers to come in. And so I take a full exit. Hey, what can you do? But overall, I had my one win, my one loss, and then I had 1, 2, 3, 4 wins. Cool. All right. And then going off the highs here, you can see here, I sort of wait, and I finally see it pull on back for me, and I take it again. Where price pulls back off the 90 MA, and sort of off these higher lows here, which were put in here. It was a little bit extended, but of course pulls back and puts in place a proper range. And so I try to play it again. At this point, we of course had range on the daily chart about $10 a share, and so this looked pretty good again. So this gets pulling back. I take it into weakness here off the 90 MA, looking for that curl back up higher, risking off the bottom of this last candle, which also was this previous high of day. So great confluence. And I get a little bit of a move here. You can see able to take it here from 865 back up into the 880. Cool. Didn't really get the move I wanted to get. Nonetheless, traded very well. As we broke higher off the 90 MA, raised my stop loss to make sure price followed through higher. It did not, so cut it for a profit. And then again, what happens here is look at this. It pulls back beneath the 90 MA and puts in place a wick off the low, showing that there is accumulation at these levels and that buyers are stepping back in. It's putting in place these lower lows. And so with those lower lows getting put in here, I'm waiting for that next pullback to try and take it back up into the top of its range again. Cool. And so again, I'm able to take it here, 858. Stop loss under this candle here because now we know buyers stepped up to the plate here. Stop loss goes here at 845 from an 858-ish, 859-ish entry. And again, I get a move here up into the highs. And so what happens here? We get back up into the previous high of day. I take a majority out, raise my stops to break even, and try to let it go, make that move higher. Fortunately, didn't get it, but I still got some good profits taken into the previous high day. And then again, price pulls back again off these lower lows. I take it again. Another little win. You can see what I was looking for here off these lower highs and off these lower lows. We're looking to play this channel back up into these highs. As price pulls back and puts in place this rounded bottom, took the entry risking off these lows for the move back higher. And again, got the move. And then I try to do it again. And this is the one that I look back on. It was a great 5-minute pullback setup. I took a quarter size on a very small share size. It was a great 5-minute pullback setup, really was. And I took it here off the pullback. And as you can see, I got a little bit too comfortable there beneath the 9 and 20 EMA. So went ahead and cut that and was only out with, you can see here, 846 to about 830 on the play. You can even see here on the 5-minute chart, it really did look fantastic off those pullbacks. And so I was trying it there for the curl back off the 90 EMA on the 5-minute chart. And it looked good. As you can see, I just didn't really get the move I was looking for. So it happens. So I've got 2 losses on this morning out of quite a few trades. And that pretty much sums up the morning recap. So overall, a pretty good day today. I wish we had the right stock out there. The market still is definitely hot, but that's how I traded this stock today. And hopefully tomorrow we have much better opportunity. I'm looking forward to it as we head into the rest of the week. As always, if you did learn a thing or two from this video, make sure to subscribe for daily content just like this. And of course, make sure to claim your 7-day free trial down in the description below. That way you can actually trade alongside me every single day in real time and get a large education, chat room access, scanners, news, momentum journal, momentum AI, and so much more. And that being said, I will catch you there. Let me know in the comments below how you did today. Hopefully you had an awesome day as well. And I'll see you back tomorrow.